All right, y'all, it's Looking Through the Glass. It's me, Jeselle, as always, and Sela, you know, the one who always butchers everything.
I do.
And today we have Amanda, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce your last name because I will totally screw that up. But Amanda, I have not met Amanda maybe since I was a baby. And but my mom and Amanda have been friends for a very long time, and I'm really glad that we have Amanda on today. How are you, Amanda?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I remember before you were born, Jeselle. I remember being
So you were
I remember
actually
that very
you were
vividly.
in
I
my
was just talking
story.
about that the other day.
You were in my story yesterday, so
I was? Oh, wow.
Yeah, you were in my story. It's on Rock and Recovery with Jay. I told the first half of my story, and I talked about Mike and the role that you played in that with me during that moment. You know, when I was in that place, and I talked about how we went to Disneyland and all that stuff. You were doing your best to get my mind off of stuff.
I do remember that, and it's weird, and it's kind of weird how you bring that up because I remember when you say the things that happened. I remember vividly. Like, I remember us going to Disneyland. I don't remember why we went. I don't remember how we got there. Was it a school trip?
No, your parents were going. Your parents and your
My
brother.
parents took us to, and you went with us?
Yeah, yeah.
Why don't I remember that?
I don't know, but do you remember
Oh,
a pack of cigarettes
we
and
were
your
in
brother
high
thought it
school,
was
and I
me
remember
because
being no. Did we visit my brother?
yes, we went with your brother and his girlfriend. And
Okay. Okay, I do remember, and I stole a pack of cigarettes, and my
you
brother
and
got.
It's a Small World.
Yeah!
You laugh too.
I remember
That
that.
was her laughing all day long. Every time I'd look at her and go, "Fuck you," and "Fuck, it's a small world. It's a small world after all."
That's my
Fuck
favorite
you.
rap still to this day. It's so funny. Yeah, now I remember that, but I would never have. That doesn't come up as a memory for me that I remembered, like, out of the blue. Like, that's kind of what. Do you find your memory lapse like that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a result of trauma
Well, and drug use,
and
I
drug
think.
use. Yeah. God,
And
don't forget the part that you were frying your brain like an egg.
yeah. Yes. Yeah. That will never be a.
The Dare
That'll never
program.
be a brain.
Jay, that one's for you.
Oh my god, the Dare program. I remember when they brought in pig lungs. This is what your lung looks like before you smoke, and this black lung is what it looks like after you smoke.
And you're like, did you make the pig smoke?
I remember those programs. I was in like 4th grade. Sitting there do that.
Well, you know what I was thinking, and I started thinking about this the other day. Like, I started thinking about, like, how crazy when you were like when you we were talking the other day, and you said, well, think about what we did when we were her age. You know what I mean? Talking about my daughter, and talking about all the crazy stuff she's doing, and you're like, well, what did we do at that age? I'm like, well, we were sneaking in this. We did all of that, and I started thinking about the way that we were thinking. Like, we were taught to think a different way than a lot of people were. You know what I mean? And so, like, I think that our youth stemmed way beyond that. You know what I mean? Because it starts with your thinking anyway. But
Yeah.
like, the drug use just happens to be a symptom of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
the trauma's going to be there. You know what I mean? We deal with it in different ways. But what's crazy to think back on is you don't realize it's trauma then.
No.
You don't realize it's trauma then. And that's so
Yeah, you
nuts
don't see
to
it
me.
for the ugly face that it actually really has.
No. And the crazy thing about this is, and we'll get into this, but now that I think back on the attempted kidnapping, now that I think back on the break-in, I think back on it in a more of a traumatic light than I did when it happened.
Well, and that's what I was telling you when you were telling me about it. Okay, everybody, she had somebody break into her house, and her reaction to it was not a typical response. She basically told him, "You're taking me out for coffee now that you woke my ass up." And no, and then when they came
I
back, she
shamed
said,
him.
"You're not doing this. I'm going home. I'm going inside, and you're going home," and walked in. So,
Yeah, I
and I
shamed
was
him.
telling
Got
her,
out of
I
the
was
house.
yeah, I was
Yeah, it's
telling
all
you,
good.
what kind of chaotic life are you used to for you to have that kind of reaction? Which, I mean, I honestly truly believe that that was your reaction, probably is what saved your life. So maybe it was some kind of divine intervention at that point.
Well,
But
I mean, I
also,
kept the
what
room
kind
pretty
of
well. Like,
chaos are you used to for you to have some guy wake up? You wake up and there's some guy in your dark room, and you like look up at him, and you're like start to go back to sleep, and you're like, wait, what the fuck? You don't belong here. What are you doing in here? And then he starts to
yeah,
duct tape you, and you're like, no, no, no,
no, it's
it's not
not gonna
happening.
happen.
It's just no,
No.
fuck you. This isn't happening, and you're taking me out for coffee. You know, the stunned when you were telling me he was just standing there with that stunned face. You know,
Well, and I
I was
didn't call the cops. Like, so I called one of my really good friends, that I just happened to work with. She happens to be my direct boss. So this the story is actually kind of comical. And I giggle every time I tell it because, or every time I rethink about it because, like, it's a reoccurring thing. The guy's still in jail, and I still get updates about him, so it's a reoccurring thing. So it kind of makes me giggle every time it happens. So, and I'll tell you why. Because if I don't look at it this way, then I mean, it's only going to be as big as I treat it. Does you know what I mean? I have the ability right now to treat that as big or as little as I want it to be, and shape it as big as or little as I want it to be. Yes, it was a big thing that happened. No, it doesn't have to be a big thing affecting me, and that I don't have to be triggered every time. I just have to learn from it, right? Like, we just have to learn from it, and we have to learn how to manage those triggers. So, like, do I feel afraid? No, but like, the funny thing about that whole thing is when I didn't call the cops, that told me something very much about myself at that moment, because I waited 5 hours and I called my direct boss, who happens to be a really good friend of mine, and I said, hey, this was what happened. And the first thing she said was, hey, we got to fix that window. I'm like, yeah, right on. She's like, I'll come over, I'll bring my nephew, we'll get it fixed. Cool. She's like, I need you to measure it. I'm like, cool. Don't know what to measure. I have a measuring tape. So like, so she comes over, and I get off the phone with her. First of all, I get off the phone with her and I call another friend. And I call my friend's husband, who I talk to on a daily. And the first thing out of his mouth is, why aren't you on the phone to the fucking cops? And I'm like, don't make me call the cops, dude. Don't make me call the cops. Call the fucking cops, Amanda. Call the cops. And I'm like, I can't call the cops, dude. Why? Because I just can't. You just let him go. Just let him go. He's not going to do it again. He's not going to do it again. He's like, till he fucking kills you next time. I'm like, okay. So I hang up the phone with him, and I get really mad at him at this point. I'm like, all right, Dad. Like, I get real pissed at him, and I call the cops, and I didn't even call the 911 emergency number. I called the office number because I didn't know what to call. I don't know how to make a report. I'm not a cop caller. And so I call and I say, and I have this conversation with the 911 operator, and he is in disbelief because I'm just like, look, I need to make a call. I need to make a report. I believe I need to call you guys. I don't know if you come to me or if I go to you. What do you do? And he's like, well, why don't you just tell me how it happened? So I was like, okay, well, someone tried to break into my house and kidnap me with duct tape. And he's like, wait a minute. That's definitely a reportable offense. What do you mean you don't know how to call and make a report? I'm like, well, I got him out of the situation. You guys wouldn't have been here in time anyway, so I wasn't even going to call you. Like, basically is what I told him. And
basically
so that,
you had it handled, so you didn't need their help.
yeah, I didn't need you guys. I had it. I got it. But I'm being told this is a reportable offense. What do I need to do? And so he's like, I'm going to send an officer out. And so what that told me was that I'm willing to normalize that behavior because I didn't feel like I was in jeopardy. So where did that really stem from? Well, oh my God. Well, like, what were we dealing with when we were kids? Like, look at what we were dealing with when we were kids. You know what I mean? Sneaking
Going
boys
to,
into the room and hiding
huh?
people out for 4 days when they ran away.
I was
And,
going to say going to
and,
death.
you know, normalizing behavior And you just were sneaky. We were just sneaky. We had to be. That was our
Yeah,
survival.
because we did, because we were like, I was like, yeah, for some reason I was stupid enough to write everything fucking down for my parents to find when they decided to go through my stuff. So I was always tattling on myself. But
Yeah,
okay,
we got caught in a note.
yeah, we got caught in the note. We didn't get caught in the act. We got caught after the act because we freaking wrote it down. And then
And
I
I
kept
remember
the
when my mother,
letters. I just
so
hid
I
them.
remember
And
that
you want
too
to
to
know where I
this day. That
guess
is
where
one of the key things that I remember in my whole childhood is what your mom said to us that night. She looked at both of us and she said, sex without love is just an act. And that stayed with me for the rest of my life because I wondered what the hell does this mean, right? What the fuck does this mean? Sex without love is just an act. And I went on a quest. It almost seems like I kind of went on a quest to find out what that meant. And we can that's a whole other episode. We can dive in later too. But
Yeah.
like what we could takes the gist away from it is that everything at this point was an act. Like everything like leading up to what had happened was an act. Until you realize how to live intentionally, it's all an act. And you know, that's kind of a humbling and vulnerable place to be, and to do it sober, like it's and to have this happen and not freak out, you know what I mean? Like, and have to retrain your body and retrain your mind of years and years of unlearning of the things that you've learned that was normal. So my story kind of starts off with, in high school, like, I kind of dabbled here and there. Like I was on Ritalin and Adderall since I was 3. So anything that I really did, I had to do more of anyway. And so when I got into my actual drug years, I didn't get into my drug addiction until I was like 30. Like I dabbled, I did things. I was married to a DJ, like we did the rave thing, woo, but I didn't get into my drug addiction until I was 30. And it was because I married a full-blown addict already. And you couldn't tell me. You couldn't tell me it was the wrong thing. I ran to it like it was a carnival ride. And I was like, addicts need love too. Like I knew he used a needle. I knew that he was fucked up. I knew how he got fucked up, and I was okay with it. I met him, and I was married already. And I remember meeting him, and I remember feeling electricity from the tips of from the top of my head to the tips of my feet. Sela, I'm telling you right now, I felt the electric energy that I just knew. I was like, please God, I know I'm married. I want to have this man. Please, 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 please. And I remember hearing something in my soul, and it said, be careful what you wish for. And
Ooh, that was a warning
I
from your guy.
remember knowing that was a pivotal point of it being a turning point. You know what I mean? And I remember falling down the rabbit hole real soon after that. I remember working at the hospital, and I was an OR tech, and we were together, and we were just together. I've met him at the bar when I worked there, and my mom was starting to die at this point. But like I remember getting this bonus because I got hired on at the hospital, and I was like, hey, I want to get high, and I want to get high like you want to get high. And he was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And I'm all, hey, I'm going to do it with or without you. So it's either you're in or you're out. And so he shot me up. He shot me up that first time and almost killed me because he gave me too much of oxys. And, knowing that I was 30 when I started doing this, like I already had a family, you know what I mean? Like I was living life like I was 15 years old at this point. Like I didn't understand what I was doing was not adult or rational. If that makes any sense. This was my first real intoxicating relationship, and this was my first real, oh my God, I'm being chosen and I'm choosing the same person type thing. You know what I mean? Like this was not anything I had growing up. I never experienced growing up. And I mean, even with Eric, it was a logical choice. Like, and I hate to say it that way because he was great and you introduced me to him. But at the same point, it was like, it wasn't it wasn't that intoxicating feeling that I had with Floyd, and so first and foremost, that was intoxicating in and of itself. And then we added the chemicals upon it and it just made it worse and better all at the same time.
Yeah,
And
you
so
definitely we're capable of thinking in the right mind.
no, no. No, dude, I was doing everything and anything under the sun. I was shooting cocaine. Like it was ridiculous. Like, and I wouldn't do it myself. I made him do it for me. And so I remember I was going to drive myself to the hospital right before I had to go to work because I was going to die. Like, I remember, I mean, this shit was not rational. Like, I mean, we have some stories, but like, I trusted him. I trusted him 100% with my life in his hands because I knew I just knew that he would save me. I just knew it. And I think back on that statement too, because it just shows your error in thinking there too. And
Thinking that some human can save you, number one, other
never
than
know,
yourself.
nobody can save you. Yeah, no one's gonna make you die either. I mean, he could have the power to make me die, but my mentality was he was never going to do that. He knows how much to administer to me, and he doesn't. You know what I mean? He's infallible. But I put him on a pedestal, you know what I mean? And I didn't realize it then. I didn't realize it then, you know? And I didn't realize it when everyone told me he was using and he was flat out using. I didn't realize it because I wasn't doing meth with him, so I didn't know what it was like, you know what I mean? So like I didn't understand what it was when he was under certain influences. And so I was oblivious to a lot of things for a long time. And then it got to the point where I stopped working at the hospital, and we went out to the streets and we were getting on heroin because we had to supply, we had to maintain. And so I was working at IHOP at this point, and I remember I did it for like 3 months, and Violet was like 3 years old, and we were in the house that we lived out in Enoch in Utah, and we had scored some heroin, and I remember him making it up and him getting it ready, and he gave me some and then he gave himself some, and I remember looking at him and I remember telling him, I'm not high enough. I'm not high enough. I said, I want more. So he gave me, after I poked, I mean, he wasn't willingly ready to do this for me. Understand that. Like, I made him do this. And he gave me the same amount that he had given me that we shared. So it was like a point, like, I don't even know what that means, but I remember him saying that that's how much it was. And he gave me the shot, and I remember feeling my eyes constrict. I remember feeling like one was dilating, one was constricting all at the same time. And he went into the bedroom and he was just like, go play with Violet. I'm going to go shave. And Violet was about 3 years old at this time. And he was shaving in the bathroom, and he, just kind of doing his own thing. And he remembers hearing Violet saying, Mommy, don't do that. Mommy, don't do that. And he shut the water off, and he heard this weird noise. And apparently I had fallen out and I had overdosed, and I was trying to gasp for air and I couldn't gasp for air. And he came over, and Violet didn't know that I had overdosed. Violet thought I was sleeping. And so she went out into the bedroom. She went out into the living room, and her dad came in, and he started shaking me, started hitting me, and he couldn't. And here at that point in Utah, we did not have a Good Samaritan law at this point. So if you took somebody who was overdosing to the hospital, you were going to get arrested for guilty by association because you gave them that, you administered that drug. And so he was ready to get our daughter taken to CPS. He was ready to go to jail. He was getting ready. When I came to, he was yelling my name, and he had already started the car. And when I was just like, why are you yelling? I just woke up angry. And I was like, why are you yelling? And he's like, he falls to his knees and he's like, I've done everything I can to wake you up. He's like, you died, you were blue. And so he walked me around the house for 8 hours. We never went to the hospital. And he wouldn't let me go to sleep. And, Violet was neither here nor there of that. Like, she had no idea at that point. But that was our wake up call. And that's when we got on Suboxone. And at that point, Suboxone, God, this was like 10, 11 years ago, maybe. And it was when you had to have you still do, but you had to have special endorsement to be able to prescribe this particular drug. And those of you who don't know who what Suboxone is, I mean, it's like a methadone. Suboxone helps you with your opiate dependency, but you can still get high off of it. You can still get high off of it. You can't really with methadone, but you can with Suboxone. And so he and I started sharing a prescription because it was so expensive. It was incredibly expensive. And so we shared it, and we shared it for years. And I got pregnant with Scarlett, with my youngest. And I remember when I got pregnant, I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And he's like, we can't have another baby. And I'm like, I know we can't have another baby. And I, at this point, has been given the choice to medically terminate my kids because pregnancy is so high risk for me, and I lose them often. And so I chose to keep her. And, you know, looking back on that stress.
I remember when you got pregnant with her.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, because
remember,
you and I
yeah,
up at
that's
that
when
time.
we had found each other again.
Yeah. Yeah, and my husband at the time, I mean, he was off using, and you couldn't tell me or, you know, convince me that he was using.
I remember you asking me, calling me up, going, "Hey,
Like, dude,
he's
is he
doing this,
doing
this,
this?
and this."
God,
And
is he doing this? Like,
yeah, and
and
you're
I
like,
remember
"He's
that, and
telling
it
me no,
drive
he's
me
doing it, he's
crazy.
doing it, but he's my husband. I don't want to accuse him if he's not." But then, and then you said, I think it was Violet found a needle, and you were like,
I
"Okay,
left out a needle and
I'm
almost got
done."
stuck with
And you
it.
called me up, and you're like, "What do I do?" I'm like, that was when you're having issues with the kids and all that.
Hmm. And then he stole the car and stole all the money that I brought in because he consistently got fired every job he had. He was consistently fired from every job he had. I mean, he held it together for a while, but he was consistently fired from every job that he held. And so he wrecked every car that we had. And he took the car that I had bought when I was working at IHOP, and I remember he took the money out of our savings. And I, at that point, had to take our children to the women's shelter. And so I was like, you know, how do I do this without my daughters really freaking out? Because we had the baby and we had Violet. And so I told Violet we were going to the bed and breakfast, and we made it a little adventure. And she thought we were at the hotel, and like she thought that it was, you know, a grand old time. And we were there for a little bit. And I remember just wanting him to come back home. Like, when is this going to end? Like, when are we going to get back together? When is this going to end? And I remember it just got worse and worse after that, because it's like he had to go back to jail, and we were doing this whole thing again. Like when Violet was, the whole time I was pregnant with Violet, and I'm on bed rest. Like, he was in jail, and I couldn't do anything, you know. And then we had Scarlett. We had her 6 weeks early. And when we had her, they thought she was a drug baby, and nowhere could they couldn't keep me there because we didn't fit the criteria. The doctor said we didn't fit the criteria, but DCFS said we fit the criteria. And so, and we did, and I did. I was still on Suboxone. I didn't have a prescription. Smoking weed at that point wasn't decriminalized, and that was in her system, and Suboxone was in her system. So it was Suboxone and weed that were in her system, and I didn't have a prescription for either one of them. And so they stepped in and wanted to take my kids. Well, I fought one hell of a fight with that, and they ended up not taking my kids, and I had them for a year. And then they turned around and gave me a drug test, a hair test, when I exited the system, and said that I was using harder drugs than it was when I was going in. And so they stepped in and took my kids for the first time and took them into foster care on a false positive. So I called the ombudsman's office up in Salt Lake, and I did everything I could to we ended up getting the caseworker relocated. And her supervisor's still, I guess, in Cedar, but we got her relocated. I mean, we made waves in this in the community at this point with this type of DCFS case that happened, and the way they took my kids and how they took my kids. It was a false positive. I didn't have any methamphetamines in my system. I had to go back and get another hair test, and that came back 7 days later saying I was zeros across the board. But the only way to get through it was to get through it. The fastest way to get through it was to get through it, and I was using the whole time. Just using the whole time. I was on my prescription, but I was still getting high from Suboxone. I was still shooting it. And you couldn't tell me, and see, this is the thing, you couldn't tell me that the way that I took my medicine was wrong.
Was abusing it?
Yeah, you couldn't tell me that, and I didn't until the day the day that a friend of mine told me. The morning you wake up and the pills that go in your mouth go in a needle into your arm, that's addict behavior is addict behavior. I don't care if you did that the day before or if you did that 12 years before. You're still an addict. Whether you agree that you're an addict or not, Amanda, you're still an addict. Because I'll do anything to the point of death and keep doing it and not come back. Like, I can do it and walk away from it, do it and walk away from it. I did it. I almost died, still did it, went back when I needed to, and that's what was so bitter about when he died, because when we thought he died of an overdose, I was okay with being okay with that and being mad at him, because that was just typical him, and dealing with everything. And everyone's like, are you in jeopardy of using? No. Oh, the hell, I am not in jeopardy of using. I'm not. You know why? Because fentanyl exists.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing that shit.
Right. I know.
Because
I
fentanyl
remember when I
exists.
seen
You
it.
can't
The
do
first
shit
thing I
anymore
did
now.
when I seen it, the first thing I did was call you and message you. And I was like, "Damn, are you okay? Are you okay? I need to check in on you because I know, And when you told me, you're like, "No, I'm not." You're like, "Yeah, I'm going through it, but am I in? Am I going to use? No." You're like, "No, I'm safe. Don't worry."
No, I'm not going to use. No, and I wasn't, and I didn't feel like I needed to. I didn't have the cravings to. But
So what was
I
that
will
like?
tell you this: when we got divorced, oh man, and that was heartbreaking in and of itself. Like, when we finally got divorced, I have never wanted to use more in my life, and I did some petty shit. I did some petty shit in the demise of our marriage, and it was only after we filed for divorce did I ever get so low. But I mean, I never in my life wanted to use as much as I did when he was alive. But the minute he died, it was gone. I don't have to be triggered anymore. I don't have to deal with that anymore. It doesn't matter anymore. He's gone. He's gone. And I don't have to negate that part of my life to move forward. Like, somebody better include me and better include him in my life story when I die. Because we were married for 16 years. They better include him,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Um, but I don't have to revolve my life around that anymore. And, I went to the depths of hell with him. And, I remember when we moved during COVID. Oh, sorry. When we moved to during COVID, we moved to Ohio, and we moved all the way back to Nevada, and I wasn't going to be in Vegas. We moved to Searchlight, of all places. And that was the worst year, because I really started diving into depths of addiction, that I started using meth in a way that, I knew I could use it, and I started injecting it. And I was smoking it at first. I was dating this guy, and so when we got to Searchlight, there was a time where Floyd had to come back to Utah to serve his time in jail for some stuff he did pre-COVID, like getting pulled over on the side wrong side of the freeway. We'll get to that later. But anyway, he had a service time. And in that time, I ended things with him and started dating some psycho who was into meth. And so I started dating it. So I started doing it. But then Floyd came to get me. And when Floyd came to get me, he knew that I was using it. And he knew where I was getting it from. And he knew that I was going to start doing it anyway. So we started shooting it together.
Again.
Yeah. Well, this was when I knowingly did it. So he started shooting meth inside. He started drugging me. And he didn't tell me. And he said it was an accident. And it's like, I found out.
You accidentally drug somebody.
You don't accidentally drug anybody.
Yeah.
He said,
And
I want to give you
how
my
do you know
shot.
that
And I'm
you're
like, you
drugging
didn't
somebody
tell
and
me?
it's going to be accidental?
And he never told me. And I found this out from a friend of his. Like, and he thought it was a male friend. I'm like, oh no. I found this out from friends, plural. Like, no. And so he found out how I found out. And it came to the point where he apologized. He's like, it was my shot that I gave you, and then you ended up liking it too much, and then you just kept wanting more and more and more. And what he did was he mixed the meth with the Suboxone, and he gave it to me in a shot, and I didn't know. And I didn't know that he was drugging me for a very long time. So when I got to Searchlight, and he leaves, and he goes, and this was years, and he leaves to go to jail, and I'm without it. I don't know that I'm acting crazy. I don't know that I'm crazy. You know what I mean? Like, I just know that it's a volatile situation, and the shit that I'm dealing with is just some shit that I'm dealing with. And I don't realize that I'm kind of coming off of this stuff. You know what I mean? So I start doing some things. I try self-medicating and doing what you need to do and hustling to try and keep myself afloat while he's away. And that's how it's been the whole time. And like, and they say, oh, you cheated on him, you cheated on him, you cheated on him. And like, every time he went to jail, and it's like, did I really, or was I just getting my needs met? You don't string somebody out along the line. And these weren't like little stints in jail either, Sela. These weren't like 6 weeks, 3 weeks. I mean, he was gone for 15 months one time, or not 15 months. He was gone for like 9 months here, 7 months here, 11 months here. He was in county for 13 months one time. And that's hard when you have little kids. You know what I mean? And it's hard when you think you have your shit together and you don't. And I had a whole other family before this. And my ex-husband wouldn't let me see my older daughter. And rightfully so. Rightfully
Yeah, you
so.
were dealing with a lot of stuff.
There was a lot of stuff that he had to think of on the fly. And, I don't really know if my older daughter knows about that yet. We haven't got to have that talk yet. And, it's humbling to realize that your parents are people before you. It's humbling to realize that your parents are just human and they don't have it all down and they don't have a code book and they don't have a rule book of how to play life. We're figuring it out for ourselves still to this day. Like, I have to figure it out for my
Well,
kids,
and
but
they are too, we're all still, every day that we're here, we're still figuring it out. Each and every single one of us is still struggling and trying to figure it out. We're all here learning.
we're just in different stages. We're just in different stages. And like, and my girls are angry right now. Like, they lost their dad, and Sela, like, I'm angry too. Like, I got really, really, really mad the other day because I'm not mad, just beside myself, because I got to the point where, I feel like I've moved on. I feel like I'm okay. Floyd's dead. I can get on with my life. Like, it's no big to me. You know what I mean? Was I expecting him to die? No. Is it a shock that he died? No. Is it a shock to my system? Yes. But is it a shock that he's dead at this age? No. And he didn't die of an overdose. He was tied off and ready to go. He wanted to use, but he never made it into a system. That was weird. But I don't know how to handle that. So when I think about that, and I think about wanting to use and I think about all of the times that I had the opportunity to, like, it just makes me sick because we don't know how much is going to make us die now. Like anything is laced with fentanyl now, and there was no fentanyl with him. It was all heroin. They did test for that, but thank God it wasn't fentanyl. But I don't trust it. I don't trust it.
No, it's, I mean, you know, like in the TikTok recovery community, there you see a lot of posts where they're talking about, they talk about, you're gonna end, you're gonna stop one way or another, whether it's either it kills you or you're gonna choose to
Yeah,
recover.
absolutely.
And I think that's one of the truest statements that there is either you're
Jails,
an addict until it
yes.
kills you and takes you out, or you choose to, and it has to be a choice. It has to be a choice that's made, you know.
Well, I mean, yes, it has to be a choice that's made on either part. It has to be a choice that's made to start doing this. It has to be a choice that's made to stop doing this, and then it comes. The rest of it falls in line as long as you
Yeah,
make that
it
choice.
does. It kind of works. Once you realize, you stop running from healing, stop running from all that pain that you've been running from all this time, and you take a moment, you sit in it, and it actually goes by much faster than what you honestly truly thought. You're not going to be in that pain for years. You're just there for a moment. Your body just needs to feel it, and it needs to release it. It needs to feel it, and it needs to
And
release it.
the funny thing happened to me yesterday, or it was actually the day before yesterday, and it didn't dawn on me that so when the break-in happened, okay, when the break-in happened, it happened back in August. I remember waking up, right, and I remember opening my eyes, and I remember seeing this dude walk through the threshold of my bedroom, and I remember questioning myself, well, that's not so and so. His head's too fat. And then when I realized who this person was, when I looked back on it, the whole way, like his face was black, 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 and then all of a sudden it just obscured right into like, to focusness, and then it just went away again, and it was weird because it felt like it was a dream, and I remember thinking like, this isn't cool. I remember just being so like blasé about it. And I remember turning my head thinking, I'm just going to go back to sleep. I know this fucker. And I'm like, wait a minute, my door's shut. Like, and it's locked. How the hell did you get in here? He's like, the window. And I'm like, the fucking window? And he's like, oh, yeah, I came to tie you up. And he came and tried to put that tape around my mouth. And I was like, oh, this isn't going to happen. So I jumped up off my bed. And when I jumped up off my bed, I remember shaming him. Like, what the fuck were you going to do, dude? What do you mean going to kidnap me? Like, you're going to walk me out this house? Like, you just came through my window? You're going to walk me out of this house and down the fucking stairs? Like, are you that stupid? Like, are you dumb? Now you're going to go get me coffee. Now you're going with me. And I got him out of my house and I got him out of the apartment. But I realized I had to get him back to the apartment to get him out of here because his car was here. And so I came back and we sat on the stoop for a minute and I was just like, look, dude, I'm going to go in and I'm just going to go. I'm just going to go. Like, don't fucking do this anymore. Like, I'll talk to you later. Just go. And he left. Because I really thought he was a friend. I thought he was a buddy because he was my buddy 10 fucking years ago. And we were never romantically involved. We were never did we ever date. Never was it even as a hope on the horizon. And for him to do that, I thought, oh, he must feel safe enough that I'm not going to fucking blast his ass when he comes through here. I'm like, you're lucky it was me, dude. You're lucky it was me. And Mike tells me, the fuck are you thinking? You're lucky it was you, Amanda. Like, friends don't do that to people, especially when they're sleeping. And
Yeah.
he had to like sit there and tell me, this is not okay. This just isn't okay. But I was the type of person that would sneak in someone's house when their parents were sleeping, and I would do something because that wanting. So like, like, and that tells me something too. If I really dissect that, the more that I look and like when we were sneaking boys into the house when we were 13, 14 years old, right? When we were still in the fucking cars, when we were doing all of that. Like, I was doing it because I wanted your attention, or I wanted to be able to be accepted. I didn't do drugs to hide or mask my feelings. I did them because I wanted to trump you. Not you generally, you in
Yeah, I
specific,
get
or you
you.
in general, not you in specific. And so I was always the one that could do it better than you could. And I'll
You
supply
can do
the
anything.
supply.
I can do it better. I can do
Yeah.
anything better than you.
Yeah, and that's really something that I just came into like knowledge of. Like, how narcissistic is that shit?
A
Like that's
little
pretty fucked
bit.
up, right? Like, and so like and it's your error, it's the error in thinking. Like, now, do I really extend that out to my daily habit? No. Like, I've learned how to back that off a little bit. But now what do I focus on? I focus on work, I focus on my kids. But I'm trying to show up in a way that my parents didn't show up for me. So, like, you remember, my parents were 40 when I was born. Like, they weren't they
And they
weren't
were
uh,
already done with raising kids when you were born.
they weren't as well seasoned as their kids were, and so
But you were their
yeah.
miracle baby.
And what?
But you were their miracle baby.
I don't know if I was their miracle baby. I don't know if that's really what we call it anymore. Like, I mean, like, let's see what it was. Like, I don't know if my mom. I don't know if that was the case, Sela. Like, I'm the only one who could fuck up a DNA test. We'll get into that later. But like, so my mom was engaged before she met my dad, and she was married to somebody. She was sorry, not married, but she was engaged to somebody that she always told me that she caught cheating when she worked at the sock hop. Now, you have to understand, my parents were born like, my mom was born in 43, my dad was born in 37, so this was like the 50s, 60s. They got married in 62. So she told me that she had a boyfriend that cheated on her. She caught him at the sock hop. She threw a drink on him, whatever. I find out 30 years later, after she dies, from her best friend, that she wasn't allowed to marry said person because he was Spanish. um I know that my mom and my dad had some issues in their family, in their marriage, and I know that 20 years later my mom met up with her fiance, and I know that I'm the only brown one in my family. I don't know if my mom ever had an affair on my dad. I don't think that she did. And if she did, it's not my business. And if she did, it was something that her and my dad had to come to grips with and deal with on their own. That's not my business, because they raised me as my parents, as raised me as my mom and my dad as my biological parents. So I never wanted for another dad. I never wanted anything, and they were great parents. I mean, they were strict as hell, and they did the best that they could with what they knew how to deal with. But I never wanted anything, and so it wasn't my business. And I got to the point where I just couldn't be affected by it because it wasn't my business. And if they wanted me to know, it'll come to light eventually. And so I don't have to do the digging or the research. It'll come to light. Like, it's there if I
You're
want to go
just in
find
this
it.
radical acceptance.
What?
You're just in this radical acceptance of whatever the situation is. They were, no matter what, their
Yeah.
mom and dad.
Yeah, and then I'm kind of in the radical acceptance phase of whatever happens. Even when somebody breaks into my house, I'm like, okay, this is happening. Um, so,
Okay, this is
so
happening.
you know what I mean? Like, and that's really
I
kind of what helps me forget
Yeah,
what
no,
goes.
I hear you. Kind of come into a place where you just kind of, you got to learn to have that radical acceptance, because if you don't have that, I mean, at least for me, I can understand it, because if I don't have that, then my reactions are going to be more than what I want them to be. And then I'm going to react instead of act. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That leaves room for reaction and not room for thinking.
yeah,
And that's I kind of have to do the same thing in order to keep myself at a level place. I have to just have this, okay, well, this is happening.
yeah, and you have to kind of. Will you go grab the charger for me? Sorry. And so I have to be in. I have to constantly be in a state of acceptance, because I have to be able to be malleable wherever I'm at. Like, so for my work, for example, like, it gets to a point where I have to be able to do 4 different things at the same time, and the only way to do that is be accepting of what's going on. And so it's really not hard for me to stay locked in the moment. What's hard for me is to remember that said moment, and what goes on in that moment, because I'll forget it and I'll let it go. I'll experience it and I'll let it go. I'll experience it and I'll let it go. And a lot of that was my drug use too. Like, I will experience it, let it go, experience it, let it go. And I will compartmentalize it and not think that it bled over or ran over into my family life when obviously it did. Obviously it did,
But do we
and
really experience it and let it go, or do we just put it on the back burner?
I
yeah,
think that there's a lot of back burner.
there's a lot of back burner. We'll experience it later. Yeah. Yeah. We have to shelve it. We'll shelve it. We'll shelve it.
We think
We'll
we're
shelve
letting
it. We
it
had
go
to.
Yeah, we think we're letting it go, but when in all reality, we're just kind of going, just go back there.
because that's what
Yeah.
I thought I was doing, was letting it go. There's a lot of things I did just let go, but there's a lot of things that it, it's just back there. It's swimming in a fish tank.
Well, I remember getting into, I mean, the choices that I made, I remember making the choices and it just getting more adult and more worse and more worse and like more big and more sinister. And I remember them being big ticket items, like sex items, and like your relationship status, and like what you're going to do and how you're going to do it and who you're going to do it with. And I remember, like doing things that I would never do in a million years now. You know what I mean? And like thinking that it was okay and talking my husband into doing things that I would never think it was okay now. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, you know, I became so many different people under the guise of being under something else. Like, and trying, this is the first time I've been single in my whole entire adult life. In my entire adult life, this is the only time I've been single.
Yeah.
And so now what does that mean for me? That means that I'm sober doing it, and I'm learning how to do it by myself, and I'm learning how to do it on my own 2 feet. Like, and I got my shit together for the most part. Like, we're getting ready to move into a bigger place. Like,
Yeah, I'm very proud
we're,
of
yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. I mean, we're not there fully 100% yet, but
you. But you're
I'm going up for a promotion at my job. Like, I know that's happening within a couple months. Like, I know that they're trying to create a space for me so I can get into management there. And it's like, I just want to get in there for my benefit. Like, it's not for anything other than just to check it off the list, but it's a goal of mine. And then just trying to work it out from there. And nowhere in that is a settlement of any kind. Like, I'm not settling for anything. I'm not settling for myself. I'm not settling for somebody else. I'm not settling for my kids. Like, we get to my kids get to see this too, this transformation, and especially Violet, because Violet gets to see, she grew up in our addiction
Mm-hmm.
and she grew up in our recovery, where Scarlett didn't really grow up in the addiction yet, and she's growing up on the tail end of the recovery, and she's with the mom who doesn't use. So when God, that was heartbreaking. So back up a little bit on that, like, so when we moved from Utah in COVID, during COVID, and we moved to Idaho or Ohio, then back to Nevada. And in that time, some family friends has taken our daughter for us to have guardianship over her, and help us until we got our footing underneath us. And so she didn't get to grow up in that tumultuous toxicity that inevitably broke us. But when she came back a year ago, and she was with her daddy for 6 months before he died, and she's the one that heard him fall. And so she called me, and I remember getting that phone call at midnight from an 8-year-old was jaw dropping. It was heart wrenching. And she's like, "Daddy died, daddy died, daddy died." And I was like, "What?" And you can't wrap your brain around it. And I was the next of kin just because she was the next of kin, and it goes with your youngest child. And so the cops were calling me, and they were trying to get a hold of, and we were trying to get everything situated, and I had to go get her. And, walking her through that has been hard because she's been so angry. And I not knowing how to handle it because I haven't had an 8-year-old in my house for quite some time. Uh, um, and getting really infuriated with myself and frustrated with myself because I feel like I'm just batting my head up against the wall. And some days it would feel better if I was medicated. And I remember thinking that the other day. I was just like, huh, it's not even worth it. And that was it. That was the passing thought. It wasn't even worth it. Like what do I mean by medicated? And I was just like, I don't even want to, it's not even worth it. It's not even worth to figure out what I even meant by that phrase. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, it's not even worth it. And I acknowledged it and I said, let it go. In that moment, just let it go. And I find that whether it's back burner or we're letting it go, just
No, that definitely is a let go because you're not the only one that you think that has those thoughts. I do the same thing. Something will come up and I'll just be like, well, now I know why I used, you
yeah.
know? And then it'll be just like, and it'll just be like, okay, let go. Or, wow, this would be so much easier if I could,
Well,
like,
and it's
and,
not even.
but it's just a
Well, I'm
quick
sorry.
little thought and then it goes, and then it's gone. I'm like, okay, well, that's not happening. And then it goes away.
Well, I mean, it's not. It's not the using that was hard. It's the using that's not hard. It's not using that's hard. And once you get used to it, like it just feels like so.
You
So
get
here's my
used to
journey. I haven't smoked at all today. So now I'm on this term of like, okay, I've quit smoking because I quit vaping. So like have I smoked or had a cigarette really today? Nope. Like what I'm puffing on is nothing. Like it's all burnt and there's nothing in there. So I haven't had a cigarette today. So, but yeah, but fuck if I'm not going to be done smoking. Like our goal was the first of the year. Fuck if I'm not going to have it done by the 1st of December. Like, like I've gotten in these like weird, uh, um, competitions with myself. Like
I
I
was gonna
want,
say the challenges.
the
Yes, I
challenges
understand.
with myself. I
I did
procured
the same
myself.
thing.
I procured myself a personal trainer and a nutritionist now that I work with. So now she's going to help me with. I have a goal that I want to get to by next April. So we're going to figure that out, and just really kind of jump into investing into myself for the first time where I've never done that before, and
Yeah,
really get to show my girls
empower
how to do
themselves
it, how empower themselves. Yeah, exactly. Like, and empowering
because
them through that.
that's what
Like,
you're going through is that empowerment and watching yourself grow and watching yourself do these things. You're just empowering yourself and you're showing your daughters how to follow along in those footsteps. And
well,
that's so great.
and when you go through that bullshit, you find out real quickly what you're willing to put up with and what you're willing not to put up with. Like if I was still in that relationship, would I still be putting up with it? Obviously, I probably would. But moving out of that relationship and going into a new phase of my life, would I put up with that shit from somebody else? Hell no.
Oh no.
Hell no.
Hell
And you
no.
can, and you can, and you can pick and choose that. In fact, there was a walking red flag that came like dancing right in front of my life. I'm all, no, dude, not gonna do it. Not gonna
Right?
do it. I
Well,
just,
Amanda, I love this was a great conversation.
yeah, it was pretty good.
We'll have to have you come back on again and tell some more of your story and entertain us with some more of your chaotic. Yeah, it stopped recording you. It stopped recording you. So we're gonna go ahead and just we'll finish it here, and we'll have to set up some more, because I think that
You have lots to say.
yeah, and you have a lot of things that you've gone through, and you have a lot of things that you can give insight on,
Yeah, and I didn't know
firsthand.
and we have a lot of stories that we can dive into, like, but like specifics. Like, I don't know where to start on that. Like, I can start
We can
from.
sit there and we can say, okay, we're going to go ahead and let's talk about these things that we experienced when we were like what we experienced together and what caused us to go, what we think what caused us to kind of step into those if we want, especially our
Well, I want to talk
childhood.
about the domestic violence part of it. I didn't even touch
Domestic
on. I
violence
didn't
is
even.
one of the biggest things that we like to talk about, and because
Yeah.
it's huge, it's huge,
Yeah.
and especially you've experienced a lot of that from your ex-husband,
Yeah.
and you've had a journey through that, and you have a lot of knowledge in there, so we're gonna have you come on. Giselle's just kind of, she's been sitting here for a couple hours, and that's not good for her.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk to you later.
Well, don't leave yet. Don't leave yet.
Oh,
For
I
those
thought
of
you
you
wanted
that
me to
would
know.
like,
Sorry.
yeah, for those of you who would like to come on and share your story, or if you want to stay anonymous and share your story, please email us at 12lookinthrough34theglass@gmail.com. Let us know, put in there that your reasoning, and we'll get back to you. You can also reach out to us on Facebook and TikTok. The Looking Through is the normal on the podcast on Facebook. The TikTok is the
Same as the email.
same as the email.
Just without the numbers.
Sooner or later, we'll figure out all that. All right. We appreciate you guys for listening or watching. Until next time, thank you for looking into the